The prophet Ezekiel records a dramatic, unmistakable incursion against God's people that reads like both history and a sober forecast. The Northern Siege of Gog is not merely a military sketch. It is a theological event that forces the question of when God chooses to expose, purify, and vindicate his covenant community. This message examines timing as much as content. Where does this siege sit in the sweep of redemptive history? How does its aftermath shape Israel and the nations? And what pastoral posture should the church adopt, whether it arrives before or after other end-time markers?
Read as a single episode. The siege presupposes a gathered Israel and a public, lengthy aftermath, 7 months of burial and 7 years of burning, which argues for a significant season of national reckoning rather than a last-minute skirmish.
After Gog and his northern coalition invade Israel, God responds with overwhelming judgment, earthquakes, fire, hail, and confusion among the attackers. The invading armies are destroyed not by Israel's military, but by divine intervention. The aftermath is dramatic and prolonged.
After Gog and his northern coalition invade Israel, God responds with overwhelming judgment, earthquakes, fire, hail, and confusion among the attackers. The invading armies are destroyed not by Israel's military, but by divine intervention. The aftermath is dramatic and prolonged.
7 months of burial. Israel spends months burying the dead to cleanse the land, showing the scale of the defeat and honoring God's holiness. 7 years of burning weapons. The people use the enemy's weapons as fuel, symbolizing the complete dismantling of the threat and God's provision. God's glory revealed. The nations witness his power and Israel recognizes his hand, leading to a renewed covenant awareness. Restoration begins. God promises to pour out his spirit and restore his people fully, marking a turning point in Israel's spiritual history.
The war ends not with Israel's triumph, but with God's vindication. It's a prophetic picture of divine justice, national cleansing, and global witness. As it was in the days of Noah, what Jesus meant. In Luke 17, verse 26, and Matthew 24, verse 37, Jesus says, "As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be also in the days of the Son of Man." This isn't just about people eating, drinking, and ignoring warnings. It's about the spiritual climate, a time of deep corruption, violence, and genetic rebellion. Genesis 6 describes a world where the sons of God, interpreted by many as fallen angels, took human women and produced Nephilim, giants, hybrids, beings that defied God's created order. The giant thing, Nephilim, and spiritual rebellion. Genesis 6 verse 4. There were giants in the earth in those days. These beings were not just tall humans, they were spiritual hybrids, born of rebellion, and they defiled the land. Their presence triggered God's judgment through the flood, a cleansing of both physical and spiritual corruption. Prophetic parallel to today. End-time deception will mirror Noah's day. Spiritual corruption disguised as progress, hybrid ideologies that mix truth with rebellion, false alliances and counterfeit authority. The giant thing today may not be literal Nephilim walking the streets, but it is a spiritual replay, systems that exalt man above God, technologies or movements that defy created boundaries, leaders or influencers who operate with giant-like pride and lawlessness. Just like Noah built an ark in a time of mockery, we're called to build spiritual arks, places of truth, purity, and covenant. The giants may look like cultural pressure, seductive doctrines, or compromised leadership, but the pattern is clear. God warns, God waits, and then God acts.